Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. The title is Deflated but Proud. Boy, are we proud of our Arsenal. This podcast, we're going to look back at Atalanta and focus obviously on the City game, but we're going to look for positives. We're going to look at just the great days, the great performance, and how proud we are of our wonderful football club. Guns and Yellow Ribbons, enjoy the show.
Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is your Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm pretty knackered. We had we witnessed, myself and Dan witnessed the finest of British rail engineering. We won't have a go at Trevor about that because it's all his legacy that we suffered at the hands of last night. But other than that, we're all right. Dan, how are you? You recovered? Long week?
No, I'm tired, mate. This podcast should be called Deflated, Proud, but very, very tired because it's been a very tiring 8 days. I'm not going to lie. I need to sleep for about 48 ahead of the Bolton game.
Yeah, you're going to the Bolton game. I want photographs of that seat that actually exists. I want photographs of the seat, you sitting in the seat, the view and everything else.
Well, listen, mate, I'm sitting in my seat. Block 5.
Yeah. All right, then. Okay. Alex, we were going to do a preview show on Wednesday night while the boys were out in the piss in Italy, but you were ill, so we didn't do it in the end. All the prep is here. Look, all that prep is still all here.
Yep, you did it all.
Are you feeling better?
I am on top again. Cold is nearly gone now, so back on top and ready for a new week.
And Trevor, I saw you yesterday. You were not staying over in Manchester, and you were staying in Manchester after being away in Italy. You must be a millionaire.
Well, if I was a millionaire, I'm not now, boys. It's been a very expensive week. As Dan just said, it was a very stressful day at Tottenham last weekend. It was a long trip, a wonderful trip to Atalanta, but it wasn't just about watching football. We must have hiked about 25 miles up and down hills in Bergamo, a beautiful city, by the way, with beautiful views. And then, of course, yesterday, the second half, I nearly went down to the concourse and I walked back up, and I nearly went down again and then I walked back up, and then I decided just to watch the concrete on the floor for most of it and pray that they weren't going to score a goal.
Trevor, if you'd walk back down to that concourse and walk back up again, you wouldn't be talking to us right now. You'd still be out of breath. You were in CC, we were in FF, and it was like hundreds of miles up.
Yeah, it's a long way up at Man City and in that upper tier, but I don't mind the occasional game up high. It's not too bad. You get a good view of the game, and it was an interesting game to watch, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, but I have to say I'm so proud of Arsenal. Last night I was fuming. I was all over social media. If anybody read my posts, I'm sorry about the swear words. I was
Trev.
so annoyed, but I'm so proud.
Hold off on that because I want to talk about the positives that we've had and the trip away that you had. I showed a couple of pictures there of Bergamo and how beautiful it was, and you said how hilly it was. There's a gunning with a gun, and there's Dan walking through the streets of Bergamo. You met up with some of the good lads. There's Jason, there's Simon, there's Mark. Who's the chap in the middle with the glasses? I keep on seeing him. I never remember his name.
Espen.
Oh, that's Espen. Oh, yeah. I met him at Wolves. I've met him a load of times, but yeah.
Fergus, that's Steve.
Steve. You call everybody Steve. The thing that I found, like we talk about the gun here that Alex is, that Dan is sitting behind. Did you take target practice? Because I know Trevor was having trouble with target practice in Bergamo. Dan, how were you with target practice?
I don't know, mate. What happened in Bergamo stays in Bergamo, so got no idea what you're on about.
Trevor, talk to us about these.
Oh yeah, that was the toilet in and the Irish bar in Bergamo. What Toucans, right? Wonderful bar. The best Guinness I've ever had out.
Sorry, stop. You said an Irish bar and a toilet like that.
Yeah.
Oh my good God.
Yeah. You should have seen it later on when Dan had filled it up with Guinness sick. It wasn't pleasant at all.
Listen, mate, if we're talking about that Guinness, all I'm going to say is every single time Trevor got a pint, boom, 3/4 of it gone. He looked at me and I was like, oh, not again, not again. It was like Munich all over again. But your pace slowed down a little bit the next day, mate. You seemed to be struggling a little bit and couldn't quite keep up the next day.
I think he was saving himself for the eating competition, and there was a face-off. It was a proper face-off. This was like really angry of who was going to eat the biggest pizza.
That's a look of love, that was. That was a look of love.
How big was that calzone?
Just before you put any more pictures up, Fergus, I must explain Dan's bullcrap away. On the day of the game, I decided to take it a little bit more slowly on pints. And the fact that I wasn't drinking my beer quickly didn't mean that I couldn't keep up with Dan. And during the good thing was, well, we could drink right through the game because you could take beer to your seats in the stands.
So you will end up with pimples on your tongue, my kind sir.
It was relentless drinking. It was a wonderful day, wonderful trip with great company.
It reminded me of Fergus was, remember when you're 18 and you go hard on the first night and you go too hard and you wake up the next day with hangover, but don't want to tell your mates.
Yeah, I never had that. I'm Irish. Yeah, we talked about the calzone, Alex. This is Dan with his calzone, and I showed it to a few people in the pub, and I went, oh my God, I love a calzone. And I went, what's that? Big fish. But I found out afterwards it's actually battered and fried as well.
No, it's not battered. It's not battered. Fried. It's just fried, yeah. Wow. And I'll tell you what, credit where it's due, Dan ate every mouthful of that and in good time as well. I got about 2/3 through mine and I was done. But Dan got it down.
It like Dan's is what, 2 foot wide, Dan, would you say?
Are we still talking about the pizza or
Yeah. We're not talking about your abs and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Just confirming. Yes, it is about 2 foot, Fergus.
Yeah, but you weren't greedy. Look at the side of Hillsies. Look. It's like a fucking beached work.
That is massive.
I thought he'd gone to Lincolnshire and found one of those seals that are on the beach, and he actually just maybe fried it, battered it, and shoved it on a plate. Yeah. Trevor, please tell me you finished every morsel of that.
I did not. No, I got about 2/3 of the way through it, and I think it's just the angle of that because Dan's was the same size as mine, in fairness. But it was. Our great friend in Italy, Matteo, who's a Atalanta and an Arsenal supporter, he holds season tickets for both clubs. We were having a beer and he said to us, lads, when you go for your dinner, that pizza restaurant across the road is the best pizza restaurant in Bergamo. Try the deep fried calzone. He said, it doesn't sound nice, he said, but it ain't too greasy and it just comes up beautiful. And he wasn't wrong, was he, Dan?
No, it was lovely, to be honest. It was a good day, good food.
Okay.
The whole trip really. Good food, good beer, good people.
Since you've tried the deep fried calzone, I highly recommend the deep fried battered burger from the Golden Place on Gillespie Road.
I don't quite think that's the same thing, but is a calzone a little bit of a sort of mix of calafiore and a calzone?
Maybe.
Ferg, wait, just before you move on, hang on a minute. Adam, I'm offended. I'm very offended. Of course, that's me in Ruth's picture. Of course, she wanted to paint this beautiful face. Come on, man. Of course, it's me. Yeah. Thank you again, Ruth. Sorry, mate. Carry on.
Trev, she did you a favour, mate, because I tell you what, you look very slim in her picture.
Oh, yeah.
You do. Listen. I've got to bring up
Ruth. I hope her husband's not listening, but I do love Ruth. But Donna's listening. Donna, I don't love her as much as you, though, sweetheart. Oh my God!
Oh my God! Don't get yourself into more
nothing
trouble.
to do with this. The picture that Ruth sends is of Gabrielle celebrating the goal with Coke Guy and Trevor trying to jump in just for some limelight because he saw a TV camera. I suggested North Banksy actually do a copy of it, but Ruth did, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Without jumping ahead too much, Fergus. I mean, I know it was a Man City game, and we're talking about the Atlanta game. I know someone else who jumped in front of a camera yesterday, mate.
Oh,
I was having a little chat one-on-one with one of the podcasters outside the ground doing a
Oh yeah.
was
Hang on,
doing a combined
hang on
11,
for that.
and someone
Hang on
jumped
for
in
that.
the line.
Hang on for that. If you've got it, brilliant. But
I don't have it. I'm trying to get it.
Okay. So, Atalanta, the G-Wiz Stadium, Stadium Bergamo, I think it's called. These are the guys in their seats, and Super Kevin Campbell's flag went with them over land and sea, as promised. The lineup was Rayo, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Partey, Rice, Havertz, Saka, Martinez, and Jesus. It was a 0-0 draw. I would have taken a 0-0 draw in this new format. It's a sprint, not a marathon. Sorry, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Get it the right way around, Fergus, but that's me all over. And I thought we'd done okay. David Raya's double save is the highlight that everyone's talking about, and David Raya continued through the Manchester City game to be outstanding, as he had been in the Tottenham game, as he has been all season. Dan, can you just give me a couple of lines and just your summary of how you found the game? And I'll ask Trev and Alex the same.
Yeah, it feels like a million miles away
Allows
now.
me to have a
But
beer as well.
it was a close game. Look, away from home in Europe, you're never going to really get an easy game, right? So we've gone out there, and don't forget, we're playing a good side. Atalanta, the Europa League champions, only team to beat Leverkusen last year. They're a pretty good side, and we've gone there, and
sorry, I haven't gone on full screen. It's just his head's got so big because Ruth has come along and said he's a model. Carry on.
What are you talking about?
Ruth, look, he's reading the comments.
I can see him now. I was trying to do a podcast about football, so I ignored you both. Never mind.
Yeah, carry on. You're doing a good job.
No, we've for once I want to be serious at Ferg. It doesn't happen very often. No, I thought we went and played against a good team, and we got a half decent result. I think we do need to improve in Europe, especially away from home, and it just showed at both ends that we need to be clinical in both boxes, and we got away with one a little bit. Whenever it was a fantastic double save for Raya, but whenever you concede a penalty and they don't score, there's got to be a little bit of luck on your side. And I think the way the ball bounced out, and then for Raya to get back up, a fantastic double save. On another day, we could have won it. Martinelli should have probably scored. I think we take that and move on. If we get out of this group stage, win your home games and draw your away games, I think I'll take that at the minute.
Yeah, Alex, what was your view from afar watching the game in Copenhagen? Were you with my nephew again or not?
Not for that game, no.
Not this one, no. Okay.
But I think a draw was a good result when you look at the game and what we came on the back of a tough away game against Tottenham as well. So I think considering the tough run-in we are going through at the moment, and we're finished, luckily now, it's looking brighter now. But yeah, some tough games, and I think we gone through it and got some good results. And I think the draw away at Atalanta was a good result. I think, like Dan said, Martinelli could have maybe nicked it for us, but he's still finding his confidence and his form. I think he's getting better game by game at the moment. I think he had a good game at City as well. So hopefully we'll see him score and lift his game even more. But good game at Atalanta, considering we didn't play our best and they had a penalty. So I think we can be happy coming away with a point, and then we just have to win our next game at home against PSG.
Trevor, it's a huge point that Alex makes there. The run of games that we had, we played away on the Sunday at Tottenham. We're playing away on the Thursday again against the Europa League champions. They're no mugs, and who had beaten Liverpool in the semi-final as well over two legs. And then we were away to the champions of England and former European champions, Manchester City. So to get that squad, we had without our captain Odegaard, we had no Rice for the Tottenham game. So there was lots of things in the mix. How did you find the game, the experience, and were you happy with the results?
I think that the the fixture people did us no favours whatsoever. No favours whatsoever. Tottenham is the hardest away game of the season for fans, and I assume it is for players as well. We know that the players are really up for that game. Then we had to play on Thursday, didn't we? In Atalanta, and it was a hard game against a really good side, you know. And I didn't think we played too badly, apart from giving away the penalty, which happens. Raya saved us. Apart from that, it could have been a typical Arsenal away performance, smash and grab 1-0 win. If Martinelli's on form, he has 2 chances in that game and he puts one away if he's on form every time, you know. So I wasn't upset with that. I was a bit gutted we didn't nick a win actually in Atalanta. And then, of course, Sunday we're back again. And yesterday was one of the most draining second halves of football I've ever sat through, Ferg. It was just energy sapping, nervous, nail biting. 40, 50 odd minutes of second half football yesterday. We'll go into more detail shortly, I know, but I just want to say we're going to talk about possibly for me the greatest defensive half of football I've ever seen. I am so proud.
Just before we move on from the Atlanta game, I was going to ask Alex a quick question because you just mentioned the penalty. Obviously, we're all talking about the save, amazing double save. I think Raya's in fantastic form. But I questioned the penalty in the first instance. Now, that might be because I've not watched it back and also Trev was bullying me and making me drink beer. But I'm in the ground and then watching some highlights back, it felt really soft. And obviously, if you watched it at home, Alex, I just wonder what you thought.
I think it was soft, but I think it could be given. So I think when he gave it on field, I think the VAR is not going to reverse his decision. I think if he didn't give a penalty, the VAR wouldn't have intervened.
Correct. I was going to say if it went to VAR, first of all, it wouldn't have been a penalty, but because the referee had, it wasn't going to be overturned. And it was one of those borderline ones. So, yeah, very soft, very soft.
Subjective one.
Yeah, listen, let's look at back at the weekend. We've done European aways. We're going to look at the City away trip. And I normally drive everywhere because I got a company car and fuel, a comfortable car. And I actually like being in control of my own destiny. But I took a...
company car. Oh, look at me.
No. It's just easier. Yeah, the nice cars.
Everyone watching, Fergus has a company car. I don't think he wanted you to know that, but he has got one.
Well, it doesn't cost me nothing to drive, does it?
So now already. You need to sort your lives out.
So my basic point was I took the train up to Manchester. I wish I took the drove home, but the train up was the breakfast train. Dan, it was breakfast was beer and rum and singing, but I just pitied this lady in the right hand corner. She had all these lads turn up at this table. We had reserved 3 of the 4 seats, and she's just sitting there with a little baby in a thing. I thought we were very respectful, and the one that cracked me up the most was when Lyle came along and asked the lady, "Did she want a rum?" And I thought, well, no, the lady's got a baby. She's feeding the baby. You don't really need to feed her a rum. But he gave me a rum, so I had a rum and a beer. It was a good trip up. It was a good trip up.
Put it this way: if we had a few Gooners there, but we left with an extra one because I reckon that baby's going to grow up to be a Gooner with all the songs he heard by the end of that.
I've never heard Arsenal songs. We've got Super Mika Teta. He was sang so softly, and I don't know who it was. Was it Devon with tapping on the ceiling, not banging on the ceiling like nobody. He was like tap. Just give it a bit of a beat, but the baby was able to sleep through most of it, so it was really good. We ended up in Yates's bar, and we had a little bit of giggle. There's myself, there's Scav, there's Devon, there's Sam, and there's the little fella there in Dan. And the one thing I really liked in there was, Trevor, your flag. There's a couple of videos I've got, the one that you just sent me and the one that Lyle sent me. We reached out on social media for people. And talk to us about the flag and what your objective with the flag is.
My objective of the flag is just to pay respects and a tribute to the great man who was a really good friend of ours. And I'm going to make sure people see that flag.
Go on, son.
I'm going to make sure people see that flag in as many games as I can this season, and then it'll be retired at the end of the season. And what we're going to do with the flag, I'm not sure. If anyone's got any suggestions, nice suggestions, please feel free to contact us. But it's going to come to Europe, and it's going to come to most of the away games, and then at the end of the season, we'll do something nice with it. But it's just, it's respect to me, man, Kev. I thought the world of him.
An idea, Trev. I wonder if the club would hang it in the stadium in the Emirates.
Who knows, mate? Who knows? You know, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I know. I mean, and by the way, that Kevin Campbell song there, we didn't get the flag out and make them sing Kevin Campbell. They were already singing the Kevin Campbell song. Then we got the flag out. You see, people still appreciate the man. And for me, I'm just going to show my respects this season.
Super Kev, Super Kevin Campbell.
Thank you, everybody who was in Yates's, and thank you to everybody who sent us through some some videos. The Lyle's just comment on there about, did somebody say rum? He's probably going to crack up with a bottle of rum as we speak. We then took the tram. We took the tram to from the centre of London, Manchester even, the centre of Manchester to the Etihad Stadium. I'm just trying to line up the videos on here, but you know, there's a lot of roadworks going on in and around Manchester, and our good friend Dan decided, you know, he wasn't happy with them.
He said he's got a big goal. Oh, he said he's got a big goal. Oh, he said he's got a big goal. Oh, he said, oh.
Carried on to the tram. So yeah, the tram journey was an experience, Dan, wasn't it?
It was, mate. There's more proper fans in that carriage there than the rest of the Etihad had. So yeah, we had a good old ride up there. We had a good bit of fun. The cone came along for a little ride as well, and yeah, it was a good little trip. Good spirits, and we might have had one or two beers.
Yeah, and look, as you said, we good beers. Simon and Lyle are there, but what we did do is we made sure, and Lyle had said it in our WhatsApp chat, that the most important thing, like the performance that was required on the pitch, Arteta would take care of, but the performance that were required in those stands, that was down to us, and it was solely rested with the away fans. I'm going to talk about the game, but before I do, as I said, Deflated and Proud is the title of this one. But I am deflated because of the way the result and the way it worked out. But I'm damn proud of the team that were on the pitch and the 3,500 Arsenal fans that were in that stadium. First of all, level 3 from where we were. There is a search out for the guy in the half and half scarf and finding out what the hell he was doing in there. He belonged in the City end because I've never seen so many half and half scarves in my life. The train back down from
we told him to tuck it in, so it must have come untucked at that point. But yeah,
listen, and
into the away end, mate.
The final little bit of video is from Sam. Sam shared it from row 1 of the lower tier level 1. And what's this? And as they're doing, we got Super Mick Arteta. You can see it move to tier 2, tier 3. The whole place. It just shows unity amongst the fans that were there and the support that were given the team. that just shows the unity and support that the Arsenal fan base, Trevor, had behind the team. You were a few rows down from us because you just decided to stand there where it was a spot that was safe. How did you find it, and how do you think the atmosphere and the support of the Arsenal fans?
I didn't think it could get any better after last season because I just thought we'd hit this ceiling where we were superb. But, Manchester City is such a hard end to get the away end singing together because you've got the upper, the middle, and the lower tiers. And from the back of the upper, you can't see the lower tiers, So it's really hard. And when I come home, the missus said to me, all we could hear was Arsenal fans on the telly. You were just so good. And yeah, as much as I'm proud of the team, and I am proud of the team, beyond the belief I'm proud of the team, I'm also proud of our away fans. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. We sung our hearts out yesterday. And even in the second half, when you would have, the worst thing we could have done in the second half, the Arsenal fans, was go quiet. But you could have sort of excused it because everyone was so nervous, I was looking at the ground most of the time and singing, But we didn't go quiet. We got louder and louder and louder. And we nearly carried that team home. So close. Absolutely gutted.
We will talk about the lineups and individuals from both sides, in particular, certain individuals. But the lineup for the Arsenal team was Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Partey, Rice, Havertz, Saka, Martinelli, and Trossard. There was no Odegaard. Rice was back in. Ben White was replaced by Calafiori on the left back and Timber on the right back. Alex, what did you think of that change with Ben White, who's been just excellent? He's great for the shithousery, which we saw Haaland do loads of. But, what did you think of dropping Ben White? And I did read a comment. I didn't understand it totally, but is he suffering for some, injury or something like that? He's not fit enough?
Yeah, Arteta said after the game that they actually didn't want to play him because of a knee issue, that they wanted to protect him, but they kind of were forced to bring him on for that second half. And it just shows, he said, Arteta said that Ben White, he just never complains and he won't tell you if he's injured. So, yeah, I think they tried to protect him, but they had to bring him on for the second half. So I suppose he wasn't dropped for the game, but I mean, we're in a luxury position with all our defenders, aren't we? Because, I mean, bringing on Calafiori instead of Ben White in the starting lineup and then him producing that magical goal that he did. And yeah, I think he had a brilliant game in a tough fixture, difficult game to debut in for your new club, and I think he did very, very well. So yeah, I think the lineup was, I think it was spot on, and he didn't really have much else choice. Jesus played Thursday, so I think it made sense for him to go on the bench and then Trossard come in and play instead. So yeah, I think not much we can do, and I think we played a good game up until what happened right before halftime, which we'll speak about.
Trevor, Dan said to me on the train that we really missed Odegaard in what he does on the pitch. I said to him, did we really? So I put the question to you, did we really miss Odegaard?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we miss Odegaard, if I'm honest, more for his off-the-ball work than his on-the-ball work, right? He's a bundle of energy around the park. He closes down. He might not touch the ball for 10 minutes, Odegaard, but he will have such an impact on what way the game goes without touching the ball. And that's what I miss, and I think, I hope we all miss about Odegaard. His energy levels and his closing down and his ability to press on two players, right, we miss it badly. We are missing it. As I say, we're not missing his on-the-ball work, but his off-the-ball work. Oh, yeah, absolutely miss it.
And Dan, finally on the lineup side of things, Trossard and Havertz until Odegaard gets fit. Is that the chosen Trossard in the 10, Havertz in the 9, and that double pivot thing we talked about last week?
I think it's the next best option that we've got, and I think it's the most realistic option. I think we saw midweek that Jesus up top with Havertz off of him doesn't quite work as well. Havertz is much better on the line, as I said before, makes runs in behind, holds the ball up well. And then Trossard's probably the next best thing that can play in the spaces, very two-footed. The most creative of our players that necessarily isn't just a winger and doesn't stay out wide, but always comes inside in that position anyway. And then, he's not like a Martinelli or a Saka that stays out wide, hugs the touchline and then comes in on their stronger foot. He does run around. He's a bit like the glue that holds the team together. It's just, and it's not a bad thing. His pressing isn't bad, by the way, but it's just not quite as sharp as Ødegaard's. Ødegaard is top level when he closes down players in the way that he cuts off passing lines and he curves his runs to get in the right position and block passing lanes. We haven't quite got someone that's that level, and that's not because the others are not good. It's because Ødegaard is just fantastic at what he does. So yeah, I think for now, until Ødegaard's back, that's our next best option. Wanyeri for me is just too inexperienced to drop in at the minute. Hopefully he gets game time.
Especially in a game like that, and a Wednesday ideally. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, 9 minutes in, Haaland scores 1-0. It was a ball slipped in by Savinho to pass Calafiori to Haaland, and he dinks a ball past Raya. I don't think Raya could be too much at fault at that. A little bit later on, Gundogan wrapped a free kick against the post. And the question I had when I looked at that first 20-25 minutes, I think somebody said it in the chat as well. It was 20 minutes or so into the game, and Rodri had gone down in the very first 2 or 3 seconds of the game with some sort of knee injury or niggle, or as Trevor said, he was trying to get Havertz to get a yellow card, which again I think there was a bit of that involved in it as well. But up until Rodri went off, City seemed to be in the ascendance, and were we paying the price, Trevor, for that high line rather than? Everyone was talking about, Arsenal are going to go there again. They're going to sit with this really low block, which we did in the second half because we had to. But it was going to be this really low block. And we're just going to wait and try and pick them off on a set piece or one break.
I don't think that. Do you know what? I didn't think you could play deep against Man City and get away with it until yesterday's second half when my view changed completely. But as for the first half, we hadn't settled when they scored their goal, and I couldn't believe that Haaland found that space behind our central defence and got in and scored. It was a good finish from a great striker, but I think it's what happened as a result of that goal that needs to be looked at in some detail, because teams go to Manchester City and they give away an early goal and they're done. They're beaten. Nobody comes back from a goal down at Manchester City, right? Or very rarely. And so Manchester City will have scored that goal yesterday. I thought, here we go. Early in the game, here we go. We'll roll Arsenal over now. And they got the shock of their lives. The players were throwing tantrums, Haaland especially. The supporters had never seen nothing like it in years. They didn't know what was happening, so they just turned salty with the Arsenal supporters and spat their dummies out. Pep Guardiola obviously didn't know what was happening because he starts kicking the furniture all around the stadium. They're just not used to it. They've never seen it before, and they got the shock of their lives. And once we're going to talk about the goal in a minute, I know, but once we scored our first wonderful goal, for me, there was only ever going to be one team that would win the game. Honestly, I was that confident of how we had come back from being a goal down. I thought, there's only us going to win this game. Obviously, I didn't see the sending off coming, but we were that good. We were that organised. Haaland scored that goal, and Gabriel immediately said, right, get back in my pocket. I've let you out once. You're done. And that's where he stayed for the rest of the game. Saliba was brilliant. The Timber, he's got so much time. For me, he looks almost too skillful to be a fullback. He's got that turn with the ball at his feet, and he makes a yard. And I felt really sorry for Ben White. I didn't know he was injured, so I was a bit stunned. But Calafiori didn't let us down. And he's back. Have you emptied it, Ferg? You all right, son?
He's got a tissue. It was leaking, Trev.
I've had this sinusitis. I've had this sinus thing going on, and I thought my ears were popping again. And then earlier on today, it just floods. So there we go. Yeah.
But no. So just to finish off, and to Calafiori, well, I'm just leading up to Calafiori's goal, Ferg. We've got to talk about it, haven't we? We've got to talk about it. What a special goal.
I think Dan wanted to talk about the Haaland goal first before we go jumping too far forward.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. A couple of things really, because look, the house really that was going on for me, I just find City here massively hypocritical because they, for the last few years, have been the best team at the dark arts and breaking up play and the way they get in people's faces and go unnoticed with a referee. But yet when we do it, all of a sudden it's Arsenal doing something wrong. I think we just matched them with that, to be honest with you. And it felt, for me, this felt very much like the first proper Arsenal-Man City game that goes back to the era of Arsenal-Man United. And it feels like that sort of era is actually coming a little bit. And to be honest, I love it. And I love the fact that our players are no longer going to get walked over and that we are a proper side together, fans and players. I think the first 15, we looked either a little bit, I wouldn't say short of confidence, I don't think we are, but City really came out and imposed themselves on us. And I think their first 15, the way that they pressed, they really came out and tried to get on us. And it did put us under a bit of pressure. And we tried to play out and we tried to impose our game on them. But back to what I said earlier about Ødegaard and missing him, it's his first press up with Havertz that we miss. And as soon as they broke that line, Xavier was able to come in off the line, run at effectively our two shoulders in front. And if you look at the actual goal, Rice runs with Gundogan and Saliba doesn't quite know whether to come in and stick tight to Gabriel or go out with Declan Rice and Gundogan. And he just hesitates and goes and he creates a gap between him and Gabriel, which allows a ball to go in through to Haaland. And it's just a small little mistake. It isn't a problem with a high line. It's just you miss the first press. They're spacing behind. They're very direct as well with their running at times, Man City, and they go unnoticed of how direct they are. And then when you've got a player like Haaland that can just run with his power, as soon as there's a gap between your two centre-halves, he's going to be in. So one mistake, but we recovered from that fantastically. And I think the actual break in play from sort of 15 to 20 minutes when Rodri goes down just gives us a bit of time to compose ourselves as well. I think that was a big help of us coming back.
I just wanted to jump in on Ødegaard again. And I think you boys both mentioned that we've missed him like off the ball and not as much on the ball. And I think you're right in that sense because of the games we've played for the last 3 games where we haven't really seen much of the ball and haven't really tried to create that much. And I mean, against Tottenham, we got the 1-0 lead and we defended it out. And Atalanta was a tough away game. We kind of counted each other out. And then the City game as well. But I think for the next couple of games, I think we are going to miss Ødegaard on the ball as well. And we're going to see oppositions sit back in a low block, kind of what we're used to when we're not playing City, Tottenham, and these tough away games. So I think it will be a test for us the next couple of games where we're going to play these low block teams and see how we can create and how we can break these oppositions down, because that's what Ødegaard usually does so well with his intricate passes with Saka and Ben White on the right-hand side. So I think we're going to solve it in some way, but it'll be interesting to see how we maneuver it.
Yeah, true. At 22 minutes in, a screamer from Calafiori. It came from a quickly taken free kick. Martinelli gave the assist to Calafiori. Trevor, you were just about to talk about it, and sorry, I just wanted, because Dan had said he wanted to have a quick word on that goal. Carry on, and what were your thoughts? I thought it was a scream. I thought it was outstanding.
Mate, listen, I wasn't going to go into any detail, really. I've only just watched it back about half an hour ago, and then I've only seen it in the stadium. But for a player that's making his first start for the Arsenal in maybe is not his most familiar position, because, I just thought he passed it into the net, didn't he, with a load of curl on it, and I just thought, oh my God, I've only seen you for like 20 minutes, and I already know you have got one of the calmest heads in the squad. Because even at professional level, when they're playing their first game for the club, a new player gets a chance like that, 99 times out of 100, that blazes over the bar or it blazes wide of the goal because they're desperate to make an impression. But not that. He didn't even swing his foot for it properly. He just calmly side-footed it into the net. And he curled it right round. Their goalkeeper was over that side of the goal as well, And he dived across and couldn't get near it. It curled round him. And then commences the mayhem in levels 1, 2, and 3, where I sort of just fell over and
it was a bit of chaos. we brought it back onto level terms, and we held our own and was going in towards half time, and then another set piece. Well, there was a set piece prior to that where Gabby came really, really close, and he was unlucky not to get a header. But then there was against Saka. I recall last season us talking about Saka taking corners, Dan, and going like he needs to be a bit better. And when Declan Rice came in, the quality and how much better that Declan Rice was at taking those corners, about landing them into the back post and stuff like that. And Saka wasn't really getting past the first man. Saka, we saw it last Sunday at White Hart Lane. We saw it at 43 minutes when Gabby was unlucky. And again on 45 minutes when, despite Kyle Walker trying to play with his nipples and his belly button and everything else, he couldn't put him off. Gabby got up again and summoned it in the back of the net. What was your thoughts?
I don't know. To be honest, I think obviously Kyle Walker's been practicing that with his two families, hasn't he? So he's had a lot of practice of trying to do it.
Oh my lordy!
Listen, that guy
they're out,
mate. He needs to stop whinging. Oh, I was out of position. He wasn't out of position. He got back in time. He got within about a metre of where he should be in that position. He showed Martinelli back inside, and it was a world-class finish from Calafiori. Nothing else other than that, and should not be taking anything away from Calafiori on that strike. Unbelievable strike. And honestly, at that point, I think I lost my head as well, because all I can remember is police officers telling me to get down off the away end.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I forgot about that.
Not again,
twice.
Ben.
No. We're in the last block beside the away fans. The first one, he goes over and he goes like this, and there's some little oink giving it to him, and he's gone. And then the second one, he goes over and he steps up on the barriers in between. And I just could see this copper with a flat hat coming up, and I gone, he's going to get arrested. He's going to get arrested. And I gone, out of the way, Daniel, get here. And then he came walking back.
Mate,
it's
I'll
like
tell
having
you
a
what,
child.
When that goal went in, everyone says, "Oh, Daniel's so placid." You say, "What, mate?" When we scored that goal, head loss, absolute head loss. It just shows how much it means. It can completely change a person.
You know, years ago they used to talk about these football hooligans, and that they used to work down the city with a bowler cap and an umbrella in the 70s and 60s and so on like that. Dan, maybe you're the modern reincarnation without the violence, but definitely with the change from 9 to 5 to in the stands.
Oh, mate, it just means so much. Honestly,
Yes,
it just means so
does.
much, and I think that's why you look at that game yesterday. I honestly think, lads, that's probably the most proud I've ever been of this club. That game yesterday, because it's easy to be proud when you're winning, and it's easy to be proud when everything's going your way, but in a game when so many things went against us, I don't know who it is, the players or the crowd or who, but the crowd gets the players going, the players get the crowd going. Everyone feeds off each other. And those boys, to do what they did, down to 10 men against the best side in
not
Europe.
10 men just yet.
No, but still, but without your captain, 53 minutes against that side to do what we did, I couldn't be any more prouder. I'm absolutely gutted, but so proud of that team.
Talk to me what I asked you about, which is Saka's delivery into Gabriel, and that, because the second half is all going to be in from here on in. It's all going to be about exactly what you're talking about. So this is my job, you see, to try and control the narrative.
I want to talk about Gabriel next as well. So
it was right, good corner.
Okay, now
it is key, but I don't know if it's the ball in or more clarity in the run as well, by the way, because when they practice as they do, there's belief in that side that we can score a set piece. And there's probably more belief that we score those than most people do with penalties now. People are joking, but we're getting that good at them. So keep doing what we're doing. It's a key part of breaking down big teams at the minute for us.
I tell you what really got up City's nose, Fergus, is that I've watched it back this afternoon, and the corner before Gabriel scored, we lined up for exactly the same move. Everybody was in the same position. Gabriel was deep, and Doku was marking him, and he didn't try and tickle him. And Gabriel got in, and he should have scored with that header. If we're honest, Gabriel should have scored the first one. Exactly the same move.
Yep.
So we've lined up again, And City are moaning about our corners, but surely if they're these players earning all this money and playing the professional game every week,
They're the
and
best in the world, apparently.
yeah, and Pep as a manager, surely they must have seen we were all in the same position again and thought, right, here it comes. But they weren't, and then of course Walker
And
decided.
how different was that against the goal that Gabriel scored against Spurs? It would have
They
been
got the
very
warning a
identical.
week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
Yeah.
By
very
the way,
similar.
they actually switched their marker watching it back.
They did,
first
yeah.
one.
Walker,
Yeah.
Walker swapped
Walker.
the docu, but Walker
Yeah.
tickled Gabriel and wound him up, so he buried it, right? And they were moaning that the goalkeeper was pushed, right? Not a chance. All we had was a defender standing behind the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper backed into our defender. The defender didn't go into the goalkeeper, so that's tough cookie. Learn your lessons, and let's hope we score many goals of that.
You just block their
nature
runs,
this
block their
season.
moves, and it's the same for all players. Alex Gabriel is proven to be a key player. 16 of his goals, 88% of his goals have come from corners. Christ, back in the day, Trevor, you'll probably remember it before with Stevie Bold and Adams, and they used to go up for them. But how good is this that we've got then, Alex?
Yeah, he's the most scoring defender since he's joined us in the top 5 leagues in Europe. So I think he's the best offensive header I've seen in a long, long time. Like the way he leaps, the power he gets on the like headers as well. He just, I mean, it is like a penalty when we get a corner, and I mean the opposition, they know it as well. They know what's coming and they can't stop it. And we do different corner combinations, and it just works. And yeah, it's like Saka's deliveries started to become a bit better. The runs are timed now better as well compared to the first couple of games in the season. And yeah, it's just and it's such an important weapon to have in these tough away games, because it can just be one goal that makes the difference. And especially when we've got this defense that we have, getting a goal like we did against Tottenham, getting in front, and again here making it 2-1, taking the lead with the defense we've got. I think, it's a massive weapon that we've got.
It was very reminiscent of a George Graham side, Trevor, in that sense, isn't it?
Wow, man. Do you know, you boys have just made a really important point there. And I thought about it earlier today, right? And I thought, no, I can't do it yet. He's not been at the club long enough. He's not done it often enough. But absolutely, I can, I think. Gabriel's goals over the last couple of weeks have really reminded me of Tony Adams. His arrival at exactly the right time to power the header in, and follows the ball in and ends up in the back of the net behind it because he's got that much momentum in him. Yeah, it's a massive, massive challenge for Gabriel to bear, because we're talking about one of the greatest headers of the ball I've ever seen. But yeah, the comparison is allowed, I think. Yeah, it's viable.
It is.
Gabriel's
It is.
right up there.
And I think that rings throughout the club with Arteta and his culture and his unconditionals and his discipline and his requirements from people and the unity among the team, etc. But listen, we're up against a huge force in Manchester City. All 12 men on the pitch were against us. And I make no, this is a slightly tongue-in-cheek, but I make no qualms about it. I think that referee was absolutely ridiculous in both his yellow cards to Trossard. The first yellow card was for pulling back. I don't know which player it was. Pulling back Silva, I think it was, and he had a slight tug at his shirt and a touch in his arm, and there was nothing off it. If we look at very similar, West Ham had a very similar sort of thing in a box, and VAR didn't look at that as being a penalty, which we all agree it probably should have been a penalty, but that was far more contact than anything that Trossard had for the first yellow card offence. The second yellow card offence that he had was for kicking the ball away after the whistle. And I said to you guys before we came on air, and I've said it in conversation we've had with each other over the last few days, or last day or so, that Trossard probably should have been a bit more clever and probably kept his head about himself and not kicked the ball away. And Trossard could possibly be deemed as slightly at fault. Yeah, I've seen the comment about Saudi money. Gary, I know, but Trossard for me could be held slightly at fault for not being clever and knowing the way the referees are being at the minute. We saw it against Brighton with Declan Rice, but we've seen it in other games as well. We've got it here that there was a 1.07 second. I haven't qualified this, but it's a tweet, so it's got to be true. It's on Twitter. 1.07 seconds between Michael Oliver's whistle for Trossard kicking the ball away, and the weekend before there was 1.13 seconds between Oliver's whistle and Sabolowski. I can never pronounce.
I was waiting for that.
Oh, yeah.
We're just focusing on his name, thinking he's not going to get that.
Nearly 51 minutes, and I could pronounce it when I wasn't live, against Liverpool and against Forest, and it was deemed not a yellow. It's just, it's ridiculous that this guy, Michael Oliver, the number 12 for Manchester City, can ruin such a fixture. Trevor, how did you feel about it?
Oh, look, right. Kicking the ball away is a bookable offence, right? So the letter of the law, as they love to say, Trossard was on a booking. That's not the debating point, is it? The debating point is that we saw a much worse thing happen when Doku kicked it away. There was more time after the whistle. He rolled it away on purpose, and you could see that he was stopping Arsenal from taking a big free kick. And Oliver stood there making this sign, whatever that means. I don't know what he was doing. So that's not a yellow card, Yeah, he's probably saying, "Oh, there's me brown envelope. It's going to be a bit bigger now, because I've not booked him." But so he's not booked him for that. Last season, he's let Kovacic get away with one of the worst tackles of the season, and that idiot, what's his name, Webb, says it's because he didn't want to spoil the occasion. He didn't want to spoil the occasion. Come on, yeah, he can spoil it yesterday. The when you look right, I've taken so much stick today because I got a bit angry after the game and put a few social media posts on. But I've taken stick from fans of other clubs. There's quite a bit come from Liverpool fans. You can't pick on them. You're not allowed. If I said something bad about a Liverpool fan on social media, I'd be kicked off of Twitter. But it's all right for them to chuck it all at us. Chelsea fans have been at it. Tottenham fans have been at it. But it's going to happen to you all this season. It's going to happen to you all. You're all going to get stitched up by referees that can't do their job for some reason or another. Now, I refuse to accept that's human nature. It ain't human nature. Not just taking those two instances yesterday, the Doku one and the Trossard one. I can't see any difference. I can't see what it is. So then you start thinking, what can it be? And we could linger on this again all day. But one thing I will say, people, when Howard Webb goes on the telly this week with his big collar and his cocky attitude, like no one can touch me, what I say is gospel, look at him and think, you are full of bullshit, mate.
Well, the point of VAR is to stop those situations that I used to face when I made a decision on here, got into the dressing room, looked at my phone and thought, oh my goodness, how have I missed that? That shouldn't happen now.
They miss everything, don't they, Trevor? They miss absolutely everything.
We will. I don't know how we change it, though, because they're not challenged. They're challenged by us fans, but our voice doesn't count when at that level. They're not challenged by the TV companies. They're not challenged by their own people. The only person I've seen that's challenged the current refereeing is Keith Hackett, who's a damn fine referee in his day and talks a lot of sense, and they even shout him down on the TV. He knows more than they ever will.
Managers got their hands up the back as well, because if they say something that the Premier League doesn't like, or Sky or TNT say something that the Premier League doesn't like, they get chastised in some way. You could hear the frustration after the game from the manager, from Arteta. He came along and said, I'm not going to say anything. It's clear to see. It's obvious. Listen, briefly from Alex and Dan, I'll go to Alex first. What was your thoughts on the two situations? Because then I want to go into the second half, because Christ, we're going to be on a long one today.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, objectively, by the letter of the law, yes, it is a yellow card. He kicks the ball away, but I think, like, the combination of the reaction time, it's so quickly after he blew his whistle And then again, Michael Oliver refereed the Liverpool game last weekend, and he had a much worse situation where Szoboszlai kicked the ball away.
Szoboszlai, that's the guy, yeah.
He hoovered the ball away like 20 yards away, and he was on a yellow, and he didn't get a yellow. So you have the same referee, two very similar incidents, and two very different outcomes. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lack of consistency, and it's every single weekend. And I mean, we're all fed up of it. I can't imagine how fed up of it Arteta is. Like, he must be fuming, because that's now 2 games in such a short time that we've been on the back end of the referees' silly decisions. And it's going to cost us in the end, because it's fine margins when you go up against City in a title run-in. I hope it's not going to cost us in the end. But I mean, yeah, we should have won against City. I think we would have won if we had 11 men on the field. I think we were pressing them towards after the second goal. We were pressing for a third goal, and they were kind of on the ropes with Rodri being injured and out, and they were sort of clinging on. And the red card changed the game, and the red card changed the game against Brighton as well. 1-0 ahead in the second half. We should have cruised the victory home there. Changed the course of the game. We lost 2 points, and yeah, it's just so frustrating as fans. And I mean, even I can remember the good old days where a red card was like something you go like, oh wow, like a red card, that didn't happen often back then. Now it's like every single game. Brighton Forest game, there was 3 red cards. Red cards happen so often now, and it just shouldn't. So yeah, just frustrating.
Dan, Gary said a comment in there about there'll be a documentary about corruption one day in football. I'm sure there will. But what's your view on the 2 fouls and the red card situation, without going into the second half, because then we'll do all that together?
Yeah, I don't disagree, because there's so much money in football. I don't believe that they can't not be. That's the way the world works. You know, money makes the world go round, and this is going to be absolutely no different. But I'm just fed up, like you guys are, because we come away from the Brighton game saying it will never happen again. What we should have said is it will never happen again to another team. It will just happen to us, because that's all it seems to do, and that's all.
Is it just us?
Well, it's the only time it seems to apply, mate. I've not seen it since. I've seen about 30 odd matches since we played Brighton, and every single time I've seen an excuse or a justification. Why?
But this weekend there was 3 scenarios that you talked about where
we've seen so many games in between where they just haven't given the second yellow. They've made a justification or an excuse why they don't do it. Now, I don't want to make an excuse and say it was 1 second between when he kicked the ball and when the whistle blew. This isn't a grey area. This is very much black or white. Do you get a second yellow card or a yellow card for kicking the ball away, or don't you? It isn't any in between on that. But they only apply it to Arsenal. That's the only time it's been applied. Now, we have to be smarter. I want to be objective. We have to be smarter. We shouldn't have kicked the ball away where we did. We need to now know that they're going to target us, and we need to be a bit more clever than they are. But we've seen so many different things where VAR just clearly isn't working. And I feel still like the rules are wrong. The whole not being able to get involved for a second yellow. You should be able to get involved if something materially impacts a game, and you can't tell me a second yellow doesn't. But they'll sit back and they'll say, no, we don't want to go against the referee's decision this year. Or, you know, the penalty for the West Ham game could have changed the game. This completely changed the pattern of play. At that point of the game, we'd completely turned the game on its head. And all of a sudden, we now have to sit back into a low block for 53 minutes. I think they're ruining football. I'd rather take it completely away and accept there's going to be corruption and they just tell us the result, or have an independent panel that says these guys need to have someone that's checking everything they do. I don't see a problem with actually how VAR. I think VAR is getting worse.
Do you not agree with Irish Mick in saying that Trossard should have been more sensible, considering he was already booked? He was on a yellow, a stupid yellow.
He said it to be more sensible, but what's the difference between him, Fergus, doing that when other players have done it but not got it? I don't see the difference between
I know
what the others have done. But the referee seems to see a difference, and it must be the colour shirt they're wearing, because I can't see another difference.
Trevor, final word on this, because I know you want a final word.
Let me give you a little scenario, boys, right? This is how it plays in my head.
Dan's wound up.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm the referee here. Arsenal are coming back into this game. Oh my God, they've took the lead 2-1. These people in Saudi look after me. I might have got many more paydays. Oh, thank God Trossard's kicked the ball away. A wacky red at him. That might even it up a bit. Tell me, that's just my head working. But remember what I said just now. When Howard Webb comes on the telly this week, starts giving you reasons for the refereeing decisions, he's not giving you reasons for the refereeing decisions. He is giving you excuses for the referee's decisions. He's backing his own because he knows he won't be challenged. Let's move on, Fergus. I've just seen the time. An hour in already.
I know. We haven't got the second half. Second half will be quite easy. Second half, this was the theme of the second half. It was focus. It was determination. It was unity. It was a team. It was fight. It was spirit. It was blood, sweat, and tears. Saka was sacrificed for Ben White.
Sorry, Fergus, it was blood, sweat, tears, and beers. That's what it was from all of us.
Well, I didn't have any beer from the start of the game, so yeah. Yeah, Raya came under fierce pressure. The defence came under fierce pressure. I actually watched Match of the Day this morning, and I thought Match of the Day covered Arsenal in glory, and I thought they depicted what Arsenal and the performance that Arsenal done, defensive display that they'd done was really, really well. I thought that the way the Arsenal 9 on the pitch and Raya directed the ball, that it directed everything to come through the centre, and they left distant shots. There were 3 or 4 ones. There was Kosovic, there was Kanji, Walker, all from long range. Then there was Haaland, was a header, and Silva hooked one over the bar. Fierce pressure, absolute fierce pressure. But the change for City when they brought on Grealish and Foden and gave that extra bit of width in the pitch meant, where before when they had players who were going to out a little bit wide, we were going, yeah, okay, play the ball there to a certain degree, but they'll come into the box to try and play the ball. But Grealish in particular was able to exploit and stretch us that little bit to give some space. Alex, what was your thoughts on just a defensive performance and how we weathered that unendable storm? And I'll add to that people talk about we time wasted. I don't think we did. We have a stat, Alex.
Yeah, I think the ball was like in play for. Yeah, in that second half, the ball was in play for the most amount of minutes that it has been in any league game this season. I think overall, first half and second half combined, it was the 5th most in play for the whole season. So I think that just shows that. I mean, yes, we did waste time when we could, but I mean, it wasn't worse than any. Yeah, we're 10 against 12, and we are 2-1 up against Manchester City, who are arguably one of the best teams in the world. And I think the concentration we showed defensively for 45 minutes and even more, we just had a lapse, a slip in concentration towards the end when they had that corner and Grealish was allowed to go too far into the penalty area, and they got they got lucky with the bounces in the box, and that's just what happens when you come under such siege that we did throughout the second half. It's just so gutting because we got so close, and the effort that the boys put in. Ben White, who wasn't fit to play the game, who came on, put in a warrior performance in the second half. Timber, they were all cramping up. Havertz, who just ran his socks off. Raya, he commanded the box towards the end, made some good saves. Can't say a bad word of any of our players. And yeah, it was just so gutting that we almost got there and they get a jammy goal towards the end of the second half.
Dan, can't say a bad word against any of our players. I more or less agree with that. But did one player maybe make a misjudgment, a mistimed move in desperation to
That's
try and
harsh.
defend against that goal. No, I'm not trying to dig the guy out, but
Even
Kivior for me,
raising that's harsh. I'm
Ki-
not.
Ki-
I think that's very harsh.
I'm not talking to you
Kivior,
now, Fergus.
good. That makes good because I'm talking to Dan. Kivior jumped across as
Listen,
the
don't
defender.
forget, you stopped me coming on a podcast when Smudger was on, so I'm barely talking to you, Fergus.
Oh, I've not heard about that a lot. What did you think about that? Because when we watched it on the train on the way back, I thought it was party. First of all, I just saw a player jumping across where Raya's space was, and I thought, has he misjudged a jumper at time, and could there be any not blame? Because I'm not blaming the guy because we were at standing.
You know what, Fergus?
Turn yourself upside down so I can see your arse moving, Fergus, please.
Go on, Dan. Bit of sense.
You can't blame a player for putting his body on the line. So I don't think you can have any criticism of a player there for me. The boys did very, very well to keep them out of our penalty box. And the way we dropped in as a back five stopped them from stretching us. And when they played the ball down the sides of the fullback and the centre-back, we had the third centre-back to shift across and stop those runs in between. And that's where City normally get into your box. And when you have a shot in the box compared to outside the box, I think you're like 4 or 5 more times likely to score a goal. So I think we played the odds as well as the team and kept them out of our box and stopped them from having big opportunities. And then, look, they got lucky with a deflection that fell their way. And they got lucky again with a shot that just about beat the keeper. We was as unlucky in that instance as we're ever going to be. I'll ask you guys a question because I don't think you can criticise absolutely any player. And I don't think you can really criticise anyone in a management team. But if I've got one thing that I'm not sure on, I would question perhaps the substitutions at the end.
Unbelievable, Fergus.
But no, the reason I say that, and that comes with not knowing everything about the players at the time, how fit they were, how low on energy they probably were. I'd imagine they were knackered. But my only thing was, they was talking about Jorginho on the side of the pitch and how he was coaching the team. Would he have been better on the pitch as opposed to the side of the pitch coaching the team? And maybe instead of someone like Lewis Kelly, who's a bit more inexperienced. Not that he put a foot wrong. And then you've got Kivior, who maybe one-on-one isn't the best defender. He's better when he's in the box, as opposed to out on the left when Calafiori came off. They're the only two I'd look at and think, could we have done something different? But I don't think it would have changed the result or the game at all.
I would have personally wanted to keep Calafiori on longer, but I don't know. I suppose it's a case of it was a very intense game. He's new to the Premier League. The Premier League is far more intense than any other league in the world, I would have thought. And I think that was
Fergus, one thing I've just seen a comment saying that's what happens when you haven't got squad depth in the team. Absolutely not. Do we not have squad depth in this team? We have a lot of squad depth in this team, and defensively is where we have the most depth and most strength in depth. So I don't agree with that at all, if I'm totally honest.
We had this exact discussion with somebody on the train last night.
Completely different from what we were 2 years ago. And right now, we have a squad that can cope with things like that. My question wasn't lack of depth. My question was maybe going with one of the youth players that's being blooded into the squad as opposed to a seasoned pro in Jorginho. That was the only question.
I'd say, you go, Ferg.
I was going to say I would have kept Calafiori on longer, but I was just worried about maybe his legs were running out, and because of beforehand, Skelly is a huge gamble in such a big game. But he's also taken that gamble last week with Nwaneri coming on the pitch at the Northumberland Derby, and in both situations we're in the lead. So he's trying to put on some youth and some fresh legs and some enthusiasm. That's all I can think of, and that's trying to be positive. I'm just, I do get your point, actually, when you say it the way you did, in the sense of putting experience on at that point in time when we're backs against the wall. It's a very valid point, so I can't really argue with it. But I can't.
There would have been a reason, because look, Jorginho's mobility probably isn't as good as Lewis Kelly. So when you're being shifted across,
but Lewis Kelly got carded before he came on the pitch, so maybe that should be an idea to say, "Hang on, his head's not in the game."
But there was a comment about did we see the bench? I'm just going to rattle it off. Ben White, top player. Gabriel Jesus, Premier League winner. Kivior, who has stepped up within the last couple of years, I think has been fantastic. Jorginho pretty much won it all. Neto, you're not going to get more of an experienced keeper on the bench. we had a couple of youngsters. We've got a few players that are injured. I don't agree with the whole no strength in depth, to be honest with you.
Trevor?
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to look at the bigger picture. When we came out for the second half and I saw that we were sitting deep and just inviting them to come on to us, I thought, oh God, I can't bear thinking, can we hold on for 45, 50 minutes? I can't bear that thought. So I thought, right, come on, let's hold on till 60 minutes. And we held on till 60 minutes. And then I thought, come on, let's hold on to 75 minutes. And we held on till 75 minutes. And then I couldn't wait another 15 minutes. I'm thinking, yeah, we've got to 80, we've got to 85. But I'm watching our players and I'm thinking, God, this is draining. They are working so hard. They're using every ounce of energy they've got to keep this team out. And so I expected some substitutions at the end. I didn't expect Skelly, if I'm honest. I expected maybe Nwaneri or maybe Jorginho, whichever way Arteta wanted to go with it. If he wanted to get some quick legs that maybe would move the ball away quicker, or if he wanted Jorginho a bit deeper, I don't know. But what I do know is whoever he brought on, and he decided who he brought on, I wasn't upset with Arteta, because there is not many managers on this planet that could get a team through a whole half away at Manchester City and not concede a goal till the 53rd minute of the half. There isn't any managers on this planet that could do it, I don't think. That's how good Arteta is, and that's how much I trust him. So he did what he did, nearly got us there, but yeah, I've got no issues with it at all. He brings on who he thinks is best, and he's the gaffer. I trust him.
Listen, a defensive display, set piece play that any manager would be proud of. I almost find this insulting. Mikel Arteta in a Tony Pulis Stoke outfit. I saw it on Twitter and I thought it was a little bit humorous, although also insulting. Our away what's that?
The badge is insulting, that Stoke badge.
Yeah. Arsenal against the Big Six. We played 12 games, won 7, 5 draws. You know what? We've not fallen behind in any game in 2024 away from home. That was the first one that we ever had, and it was to Haaland's goal, which is the earliest goal we have conceded in a game away from home. Haaland got his 100th goal. The guy is an animal. He's an absolute machine when it comes to that. He's a one-trick pony, very much so. But he took a
tantrum throwing brat.
105 games to get to 100 goals. You got to give him some credit for that, and they have exploited it. To the T have City. Listen, I think we need to look ahead because of time and everything else. Wednesday night, everybody. Don't look for Block 5 Capo. Look for Block 100 Capo. He's getting a new hat.
I'm going to be in my seat. It's a Fergus. I won't sit in your seat. I'm going to sit in my team, Block 5.
Yeah.
He's for a score, Ferg.
Yeah, I could have sold it for 50 quid. But Oxygen you'll need for up there. Alec, Dan, you looking forward to it? Stand up.
I am, because you know what?
Tottenham. Stand up if you hate Tottenham. What you thinking, Tottenham, Dan?
First time you got the words right, Fergus. To be honest. Listen,
what you thinking, Tottenham?
I am. Shut up, Fergus. We're doing a podcast.
Get used to it. What you thinking, Tottenham?
God, I'll tell you what, they're not as annoying as Fergus.
Start watching this podcast and taking you seriously saying that. I'm kicking you off if you say that once more. It's stupidity of the highest nature, young man. Behave yourself.
Please do.
I told him, Dan.
Listen,
I'm just trying to get used to it.
I don't care about that. Wednesday isn't about that, right? So probably for the first time in a while, I'm going to go there without a few beers and as much singing, and go in there to probably get a view that I wouldn't normally have and watch a good game of football and tactics, and hopefully see some young players, to be honest with you. I really hope he changes the team completely and we blood some youngsters. I would sacrifice this competition. I think we've got far too many games at the minute, and I would focus on Champions League. Yeah, I wish we could give Fergus a red card. How good would that be? I need to get a red card so I can just go boom. Right.
You've got a leprechaun. You've got everything. How much more can you get at me? So
I'm looking forward to seeing some youngsters, hopefully, and the future of the club.
Yeah. Alex, briefly, what's your expectation? No Trossard, clearly. With Setford in goal, I would like to think.
Or Neto.
No, Neto's cup tied. He played for Wolves.
Oh, he is. Okay, yeah. I guess, yeah, Setford, yeah.
He'll be
I mean, if we do like kind of sacrifice this competition and do play like some of our youngsters, my question is, would you play Max Dowman in this fixture? Can he play? Is he 15?
14. No,
no,
14.
absolutely not.
He's the best young player we have. He's the youngest ever player to score in the Youth Champions League. He's the best player we have in our youth system. Why would
Alex,
you play him?
do you remember Dan Crowley when he came through as a 15, 16-year-old and everyone was raving about it? Way too much pressure on a young boy. He should barely be in the under 19s, let alone the first team, mate. Honestly, definitely
there's absolutely no chance of him playing.
But we bought on 1 year in the Premier League when he was 15. Why should we bring this guy? If he's so much better than everyone else, why shouldn't he get the chance?
Yeah, I think the only reason Nweri was and Balogun were picked that time was COVID, and it was all that COVID sort of stuff, and the squad was limited as well. And we were also in the process of ousting Aubameyang and Ozil and all of that. That was,
but I was 1 year. That was 2 seasons ago against Brentford away.
It was 3 seasons ago.
2. It was in our black shirts.
Boys, I don't care.
Yeah, go on. Look, it's one of 4 games we've got at home, I think it's 4 in a row. I know we've got Leicester on Saturday, and then we've got PSG on Tuesday, the 1st of October, and I think it's Southampton. So we've got 4 in a row. Trevor, of those league fixtures, Southampton and Leicester, and you'd expect to get 6 points.
Do you know what, Ferg? I'm a bit nervous about it. I really am, because this is like, it's come a bit earlier in the season this season, but I'm thinking, yeah, these next few league games should see us all right. We should pick up maximum points, hopefully. But we thought that at Christmas time last season, didn't we? So I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. 1 game at a time.
Where are you on Bolton then? Are you like Dan? Are you happy if we win out of the cup?
No, I'm not. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that.
Okay. Fergus, don't you get me angry. I'll never be happy with us going out of a competition. You can stick that blooming rod, because I'm going to shove it somewhere soon. Never in a million years will I ever say about my club that I ever want us not to win a game. I want us to win the blooming under 15, under 12.
He's on the hook. He's on the hook.
I want us to win the over bloody 65s. I want us to win the blooming.
Wait, because no one can hear what either of you are saying, right? So you just
Fergus is being bloody stupid again, because he is stupid. Right. Listen, never would I want us to lose anything. I mean, basketball, rugby, wheelchair football, anything. You name it, anything with the Cannons and Arsenal. So absolutely not. I hope the youngsters go and get all the way to the final.
Danny, in fairness, he's hooked you there really big.
He's angered me, mate. He's angered me.
Yeah, I know. That's
what's going on here. Ferg winding Dan up and Trev being the sensible guy.
That's why I told you both to be quiet, because we had 20 seconds there where we didn't have a clue what either of you were saying. Listen, I'm gonna move it on, right? I don't know if you're gonna do it, Ferg, but we're 1 hour and 20 minutes into this podcast, right? Adam Stearman asked me a question. Trev, will you have the flag on Wednesday? Adam, I can't go on Wednesday. I've got to have a night off. I'm knackered. The flag will be there with us on Thursday, right? AFC always. Saturday. What's your thoughts on Haaland? Saturday. AFC always. What's your thought on Haaland throwing the ball? I'm going to ask the lads to come back in a minute, but I've got no issue with him throwing the ball. I think Haaland was very lucky that Gabriel's not one of these players that went down rolling on the floor, rolling his head, because then he might have been in big trouble. But Gabriel didn't. He just shook it off and had a laugh about it. And I'm 100% certain that Gabriel has stored that into his head for the next time he meets Mr. Haaland. Yeah. I hope Rodri makes a full recovery. I genuinely do. But he must be congratulated for his attempts at a world record during the game. The quickest ever dive and trying to cheat a player off the field. I made it 3 seconds. in December, we've got another run of games like we've just had. We've got Newcastle away on a Saturday, we've got Inter away on a Wednesday, and we've got Chelsea away on a Sunday. So it's coming thick and fast this season, these hard games. But I've got every confidence in our boys. Now, I've said that all like that all along, so it gives Dan and Fergus time to calm down, right? So you boys can talk again now.
I'm not talking to him. I'm disgusted.
Very briefly on Haaland and hitting in the back of the head, and Haaland running into Gabriel, and Haaland roughing players up. I have no issue with it, because I tell you what, Ben White does the same thing, playing with people's gloves. It's shithousery. It's part of the game. Well, as long as it's within the rules, I didn't really have an issue with it. I did think his shirt was over his face. He didn't have a clue what was going to happen to him. I thought for that reason it was a bit cowardice. But yeah, it's shithousery. Alex, briefly, because Dan's not talking.
I agree. There's been this massive outrage on social media that he should have had a red card. I agree with you, Ferg. I think it's just shithousery. If any of our players had done it, we'd love it. He's a C-nut, Haaland, and the way he barges into Gabriel and some of the other players during the game, he should have had a yellow card earlier in the game, and he didn't. But it's all shithousery, and we love it, and it's part of the game, and we love it when our players do it.
Well,
I spent the night with you last night, so you can talk now.
Until 20 seconds ago, I couldn't understand why Alan would do it. But I'll tell you what, if I had a ball right now, Fergus, I'd throw it at the back of your head.
It was good to hear that on the away concourses as well. We had it on level 3 beforehand. That was going. Listen, before we go, it would only be decent to give a shout out to our good friend Ruth Beck, who did send this through to Trevor of that goal, and he was so honoured and humbled by it. I'd just say, if you want to buy some stuff, her Etsy site. I read on Twitter, her Etsy site at the moment. She's reducing some of the lines that are on there, so there are some things on there you can get before they're discontinued, and then she'll have some new stuff on there. She's got some great Northland Forever stuff, really some unique little bits of Arsenal and Islington and North London related art. So if you like that sort of stuff, get over to Ruth Beck Art. Guys, thank you very much. We dragged it back a little bit. We're 123. I suppose it's not too bad. 376 people currently on Twitter watching this at the moment. About 300 of you on Twitter. If you would like to go across to YouTube and click on the subscribe and bell so you get reminded that we're on, it would be greatly appreciated. It does help us along the way. And before I was about to press the button, Trevor needs a word.
Yeah, listen, boys, just remember one thing, right? Villa away, Tottenham away, Man City away, 7 out of 9 points. I'd take that all day long. Up the Arsenal, Ferg.
Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is your Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Enjoy the show.